Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review on the 91 Future Stars Eduardo Camavinga card. We're going to go through the detail, stats, traits, clips, summary, all that good stuff. Before we get into all of that, if I could ask you guys to please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when I upload, and comment down below who you'd like me to review next. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Guys, this is the team that I use Eduardo Camavinga in. Now guys, I played him in 3 spots. I played him in the CDM spot, I played him in the central midfield spot, and I played him in the cam spot because I wanted to try him out in all 3 of those positions. Now the reason being is that, guys, my first impressions of this card is that this card is seriously underwhelming. Now, please don't misunderstand this review, guys. This review is here to discuss a 2.8 million coin player. So it's not like what I'm discussing here is what should be one of the best central midfielders in the game, and I have used a lot of really good central midfielders. I've used Patrick Vieira, I've used versions of Ruud Gullit, I've used Michael Ballack, I've used Steven Gerrard. You know, I've used these kind of players that have some sort of similar impact or all-around game, and this card was just seriously underwhelming. Overall, guys, I actually ended up sticking in the 4-3-3 with him to give him a little bit of protection with a CDM and Bruno next to him. But without further ado, let's get into the review a little further. 6 foot tall, high work rate, left-footed, 3-star skill moves, and 3-star weak foot. 5 games played, 1 goal scored, and 3 assists. Now, guys, that's not bad. In terms of a midfielder, high is quite good actually for a central midfielder, which is what he is. Left-footed as well, so you could play him on the left side of midfield, and that would be quite nice to tie together with some of the players there. But 3-star weak foot is a bit of a con. That should be a little bit higher, especially for such an expensive player. I would expect that to be a little better. But I digress, let's carry on. 5 games played, 1 goal scored, and 3 assists. Now guys, again, because of the position he's in, doing a lot of the tackling and defending as well as going forward, and the way I mixed up his positions, I didn't expect him to get a great return, so that's absolutely fine for me in terms of that as well. I put a shadow on him, guys. Now I did try a hunter as well, and I didn't really want to boost his passing and dribbling because I thought it was fine, and that was until I used it, at which point I did try an engine too. Now guys, one thing I would say is that the chemistry styles, you can really choose what you think would suit you best for this card if you do intend to get it. But overall, I think given where I would play him in my formation, I put the shadow on him in the CDM games in the last couple of games, and he wasn't holding his own there, but we'll get more into that as we get further on. Getting into the key stats here. Now guys, of course, this card is absolutely phenomenal. 92 stamina to go with those high work rates, so he really does bomb up and down that park all day long. Now guys, he has a very weird pass animation where he floats the ball a lot. Now that's okay, because his short passing and long passing is pretty good. Just sometimes he hits the ball and it takes a long time to come down again. Defenders can get back in at you. You can obviously fizz the ball wherever you want it to go, but just something to be aware of, guys, when you are pinging the ball around, that he does struggle a little bit. Other things to chuck in there, guys, as well, is that his agility is 90. He is very quick on the ball. He is capable of moving very well. He's a big player, but he's almost got a lean body type, and with that 87 strength that he's got as well, this card is really great in the attacking sense as well. Guys, I feel like, and we're going to go into the cons now, one thing for certain is the finishing. The 80 finishing is not good enough. There's a number of chances which I took, which should have been easy goals, and he just didn't stick them away. I expected more from him in that department, but I guess when you're boosting the right stats, that would help. The other thing that I was really disappointed about with this card, guys, overall, was his defending. Now, I know I've boosted his defensive stats there, but overall, guys, he was just getting overrun in the midfield. I really didn't feel like he had the impact I wanted him to have. Now, I'm looking at him as a cheaper option to your Ruud Gullit or your Patrick Vieiras, and he really just didn't deliver in that regard. I feel like he really struggled in the middle of the park, and that's why in the end with the 4-3-3, which is where he flourished the most for me, because he had that protection of a defensive midfielder. He had the freedom to just move about and do what he wanted in the midfield, rather than having defensive responsibility on him, which of course you guys will all have in your different ways and styles of doing your team. So he may not necessarily play that way for you, but for me, I liked my team in a 4-2-3-1. In the DM spot, he was just getting overrun and was not good enough there for me. Getting into the player traits, he's only got the long passer trait. Now that is a nice trait to have, of course, and because you do distribute the ball a lot with this card, it is a nice trait to have as well. So that's something to talk about too. Now that we've covered all that, we're going to get into some of the clips that I got with him. So guys, getting into some of Eduardo Camavinga's clips now, and guys, what you're going to see here is his all-around ability in the game of FIFA this year. Now guys, one thing I do want to keep stressing is that this card is very expensive. Now, what that does for me is that it raises the level of expectation that I expect from this card. So that's not to say that he is a bad player. What I'm trying to say with this card is that he did struggle a lot, where I would not have expected him to do so, given he is so pricey. He's very capable in that midfield, especially for a central midfielder as well. He's able to do every part of the game that you want him to be able to do. He's powerful in the running especially, and you can see that from a lot of the clips. His passing is neat and tidy. He makes the right movements as well, and as you guys can see from a lot of these clips as well, he's just shy of being a good striker of the ball there. But overall, guys, I do think this is a good card. Please do not misunderstand when I say that this card disappointed me. What I would say is that this card is not worth the price tag that is put on him, especially when he was sitting at 2.8 million. He has fallen since I recorded that initial introduction part of the video. But guys, what you will see in all of these clips as well, and I hope with that, as people find out more and more about this card, that he isn't as good as that price tag suggests, that his price does drop a little bit, that he starts to come to a price range which is far more reasonable for this card. And I think if the price did drop a little bit, that would be something that I would like to use, like to pick up and use in my team as well. He is a fantastic player. I mean, look at that ball there. Lovely little chip ball over the entire midfield there into the right winger. His weight of pass is fantastic, which is something that I really loved about this card. He was able to just play the right passes at the right time, hold defenders off, and use the strength there as well. Now guys, something that was a real factor about this card, and what you will see from a lot of the clips, that although he drives brilliantly through the defenses and plays lovely passes into his teammates, his defending is not good enough. You will see a lot of defensive clips where he did well, but for every one defensive clip he did well, there were 2 missed tackles or 2 missed time tackles, or just generally poor positioning and challenges that led to opponent goals. It's why there are so many goals against me, even though he's playing in the midfield. And what I ended up having to do was to protect him with the CDM and play him in a 4-3-3. Now, when I gave him that protection, what ended up happening was he really flourished, because he was able to just move through the lines, and when you've got a player of that size and capability charging at you, it's difficult to defend against, and he creates a lot of chances for you guys. So if you plan to play him alongside someone like a Patrick Vieira, or even someone simpler like the Bruno Guimaraes that came out just recently, then what you will have is a lovely balance in your team that he's able to work with, guys. And that's something that is really important for me about this card, is that you can balance off his poor side with his pluses. In this longer clip here, guys, what you guys are going to see is the entire involvement of where I had him in my attack. Again, lovely ball in there, picks up the loose ball here, puts a lovely ball in, and it's unlucky that Stoichkov can't finish that off. Overall, guys, though, I did think that this card needs a little bit of a price reduction. In this final clip here, you're going to see the only goal I got with him, a lovely volley off into the back of the net. So guys, getting into this final Eduardo Camavinga summary. Now, of course, I recorded this when he was at 2.8 million. That has already fallen to 2.359, 1 point less than 2 million on the Xbox and 2.5 on the PC. So he's already dropping. I think people are starting to realize the value in this card and where he is good and where he isn't. Guys, one thing I will say that goes along with his strength being 87, bear in mind, please, that he is only 68 kilos. So he is a very, very light player. And I think that bears some sort of important factor when he goes up against bigger defenders. He does sometimes struggle against those, but overall his defending and capability is pretty good. His total in-game stats are 2506. Now that is less than the end of an era Wayne Rooney. Just please bear that in mind, guys, that although the face card looks fantastic, he does have lower in-game stats than a lot of players you can pick up for a lot less coin. Overall, guys, though, I did think this was a good card. The recommended chemistry style I would go with, I still think it really depends on where you plan to play him. If you want to play him CDM, I think the anchor may be the best one to give him that boost to defense, physicality, and pace. However, I would not say that it's stupid to put an engine or anything else on him. You know, guys, there's a number of ways that you can boost this card to really make him fantastic at a lot of good things. I do think that this card is very good, just not worth the price. In terms of similar players, now I don't think he's similar at all to Patrick Vieira. I think Leon Goretzka is probably a closer shout. I do think that's a very good shout in terms of where he sits at and where maybe his price point should trend towards. Goretzka, of course, less than 1 million. I don't think Camavinga should be less than 1 million because he has great linkability, especially to a lot of icons, but I do think he should be less than 2 million still. I think it's way too expensive for a card like that. He has fantastic agility, which really separates him from those players like Vieira or your Balax or even Mateus, but similar to Goretzka, he's able to do everything, maybe a slightly higher level than Goretzka. but a very similar player nonetheless. In terms of linkability, of course, you've got some perfect links to some Bordeaux players, De Silva and Zonzi, but we're looking at, more importantly, the strong links, of course, Kylian Mbappe, Zidane, Henry, Cantona, Vieira, all those players there. Wissam Ben Yedder's in there as well, Bamba, Kurzawa, Mole, of course, the flashback Ben Arfa as well. You've got so many links you could put with this card, and he would be able to work in a midfield. I think trio. I do not think a duo is a good way to play him. It puts too much defensive responsibility on him unless you change the formation up and let him play in. I don't think he's capable of playing in the attacking midfield position unless you boost his dribbling a little more. I do not think you should put any defensive responsibility on this guy. He's not good enough to do that. He does struggle a lot, and he gets overrun in midfield by other top level midfielders, so please do bear that in mind, guys. If I was to recommend whether to purchase this card or not at the current price, I would still say no, guys. I think this card needs to drop a lot. I don't know whether it will drop to $1.5 million or even less than that. I would say at that level, now you're starting to get value for your coin. I don't think right now he's worth what he's currently listed at. And people are starting to realize that it's already dropped from 2.8 to 2.4 in the matter of 24 hours. This card will continue to drop, I think, as people realize what it is good at and what it's not good at. And you might be able to pick yourself up a bargain when he finally hits his lowest point. But up until that point, I would recommend do not buy him for over $1.5 million coins. I know that's a big drop still to come, but I genuinely don't think he's worth that. And you can get someone for less, which will do the same, or if not, a better job for you. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, please do smash that like button. And until next time, I'll see you all in a bit.